The Canon EOS R5 Mark II can shoot raw images at 30 frames per second on a 45 megapixel sensor. The Nikon Z9, also with a 45 megapixel sensor, can shoot 20 frames per second lossless RAW. Both cameras can record hours of video and thousands of images, easily filling a 1 terabyte or 2 terabyte CF Express card. On a recent trip to Vancouver, I shot over 800 gigabytes in just 1 week. Capturing footage? Well, that's the fun part, but offloading it? Not so much. Importing, transcoding, and all that stuff, it certainly takes time. But what if you could triple your transfer speeds without changing your cards? All for $249.99. Before we dive in, a quick ask. If you find this video helpful, go ahead and punch that subscribe button. It tells the YouTube algorithm that you're not here by accident. It helps support this channel, and it really is free. It only takes a second, and it means an awful lot to us. Hi, I'm Simon. I review camera gear that actually matters to photographers and videographers, even when it comes to less glamorous gear that we quietly rely on every day. Today, we're looking at one of those unsung heroes, the card reader, specifically the Angelbird Performance Card Reader CF Express B. I know, try to contain your excitement, but this one is different, and in a big way that will impact your bottom line. I'm not kidding. But first, disclosure. This isn't some sort of paid ad. Angelbird didn't sponsor this video or tell me what to say, although they did provide me with the card reader and the cables that I'm going to talk about later in this video. I shoot an awful lot of 4K video and 45 megapixel RAW files on the Canon EOS R5 and the R5 Mark II, recording to CF Express cards rated for 3,500 megabytes per second sustained write. And my Mac Studio Ultra has Thunderbolt and USB 4 ports capable of over 5,000 megabytes per second. So I often ask myself, why am I stuck at 1,000 megabytes per second for offload, transcoding, and transfers? Well, the simple answer is I'm on a Mac, and that means I only get 10 gigabits per second over USB 3.2 Gen 2.2, where you Windows folks get the full 20 gigabits per second and get everything V cards offer. But V4 cards, well, they need more
speed and power. That's the solution.
Angelbird's Performance Card Reader CF Express B claims to deliver all that power. It also solves the bottleneck that Mac users, myself inclusive, have been putting up with, as well as opening up the taps on V4 cards. And we'll provide you with the test results in just a minute, but first, we need to answer a simple question. Do we really need more
speed and power?
Vancouver is one of those landscapes that I never tire of. I spent 9 days there in early July, putting the R5 Mark II through its paces. The soft crash of ocean waves, the view from Cypress Mountain. It's all so inspiring. And the Angelbird 2 terabyte AV Pro CF Express V4 card felt the full weight of that inspiration. I shot gigabyte after gigabyte, thousands of raw images, and enough 4K footage to make a normal SSD weep, all without the camera overheating. Van Duzen's Botanical Garden felt like it was designed for cinematographers. Beautiful off-world vistas, flowers, wide shots, and slow motion. I filmed it all. By the end, I'd racked up over a terabyte of high-resolution stills and video, frame by frame, clip by clip, but now came the worst part, and it wasn't the flight back. It was offloading, transcoding, and importing. The next morning, I woke up feeling refreshed. I could hear the birds chirping and smell the coffee brewing, followed by the slow horror of realizing I had to transcode and import 1.18 or 1.2 terabytes of footage. The joy of digital media. Now, this is right up there with tax season and setting up a new printer. To give you an example, this single 4K 120 frames per second clip of a helicopter taking off is 29.0 gigabytes. Transferring this clip using a V3 card and card reader, 31 seconds. With the same card in the new Performance Card Reader, 20 seconds. That's a 36% gain just from switching card readers. Why? The card hasn't changed. Well, remember how I said earlier that I'm on a Mac? Yeah, it's that difference between only getting 10 gigabits per second using USB 3.2 2x2 whereas on Windows you would get the 20 gigs, so no difference to Windows users. But for Mac users, no new cards required. Just swap out the card reader and you enjoy that boost of 36%. But the real gains come from the V4 cards. The same clip transferred in just 10 seconds. That's a 67% gain for Mac users, and for Windows users, it's a 50% gain. The performance card reader consistently hit 3.4 to 3.5 gigabytes per second on the Mac, double what I got before. Now keep in mind that I'm also recording screen shares at the same time, which could impact the test a little bit. Now I know what you're thinking, that's pretty impressive, but we're only dealing with 10 or 30 seconds here. How does this scale? Well, I took that 1.2 terabytes that I shot in Vancouver and transferred it in chunks. The first test was using the old card reader with a V3 card. It took a staggering 28 minutes and 36 seconds. Taking that same V3 card and putting it in the new card reader dropped the time down to 13 minutes and 7 seconds. But with a V4 CF Express card and the new performance card reader, that time dropped down to 7 minutes and 9 seconds. I'm a one-man crew, so every minute saved, that's time I get back. If you're managing multiple cameras and multiple cards every day, that time savings really adds up. Plain and simple, time is money. But is the performance card reader a workhorse, or does it burn out easy? Does it overheat? The Angelbird AV Pro 2TB CF Express V4 card is able to sustain a 3.5 gigabytes per second write and a slightly faster read speed. And the performance card reader actually keeps up. And I ran it all day Monday, transcoding 4K footage, importing it into Final Cut, and then editing right off the CF Express card. Yes, my CF Express cards run double duty as SSDs. It never ran hot, it never crashed, it never stopped working. And Angelbird told me that it can run full day, all day, at speed, every day. And from what I saw, yeah, they're right. I tested it with 1.2 terabytes of real-world data, a project that took me 9 days to film and another 9 days, or shall I say 8 days to edit. And despite having active cooling on the performance card reader, it's quiet. No mystery drivers to install. The performance card reader shows up as a native NVMe drive. Your actual speed depends on what your computer supports. If your computer maxes out at USB 3.2, Gen 2.2, you're going to top out at 20 gigabits per second max. However, if your computer supports USB 4 or Thunderbolt 3, 4, and 5, you top out at 40 gigabits per second. If you're not sure what your computer supports, all you have to do is take a look at the LED on the front of the performance card reader. If it lights up as blue, that means USB 3.2, Gen 2.2, giving you a maximum throughput of 20 gigabits per second. But if it lights up as white, that means your computer supports USB 4, an orange light means that it's ready, and a flashing light means that a transfer is in progress. And along with the Angelbird performance card reader, they also released a new line of USB-C 4.0 Solid-Flex cables. They come in various lengths and colors, and I know what you're thinking. It's just a cable, for heaven's sake. They are built for speed. They're tested for 3.5 gigabytes per second throughput with better shielding and durability. I'm told they're using some sort of cotton mesh fiber that's very durable, it's very flexible, and they spent a long time working on these things. Having traveled to Vancouver with a couple of these Angelbird products, the PKT card reader and the SSD Decode PKT, just look at the size of them right here. They're really, really tiny. You can coil things up. And right here, I've got about 8 terabytes. And these will just fit in my pocket, no problem. Go through the X-ray, again, no problem. They're shielded because they're using a metal enclosure. I just really love them. They're perfect for travel in harsh environments. But what I really like about them, as I kind of alluded to, is the longer cables. Because as you can see here, take them out of my pocket again. These shorter ones that come with them as default, again, great if you're on a plane or if you're just working on a desk. For your desktop environment, it's not big enough. So this card reader just barely fits into the back of the computer because I don't plug it into the front. When I'm doing live streams, that's what I use those two ports for. I really do love the longer lengths. They have up to 4.5 meters. You're looking at about 13, 14 feet. So why would you use those? Well, for me, I actually have some longer USB cables that I use for when I'm doing live streams. And yeah, I think that one there is about 10 feet. And they also have different colors. So if your computer looks a little bit like mine, you can use different colors to help identify which are key devices and which ones are secondary devices. I've got a lot of the Angelbird USB4 Solid-Flex cables already in use. And while I love the cables, the real story here is that I'm able to import 1.2 terabytes of data very, very fast. I'm absolutely in love with the performance of this new card reader. And be able to produce content quicker by not just a few seconds or minutes, but by hours, that's a really big deal. Because for me, it's all about time saved, and I don't have to tell you that time is money. Cutting hours or even days from your workflow for just $249.99. The Angelbird Performance Card Reader CF Express B, paired with their AV Pro CF Express B V4 cards, it's a no-brainer. Just last year, I was on the fence about the benefits of V4 cards. Now, from the point of view of a camera, it didn't allow you to shoot faster or increase your buffer speed much more than a couple of frames. There was no benefit to capturing higher resolution video for longer. There was no benefit. But what I predicted was, if you could copy the contents to take the card, put it in your card reader, and your computer supported it, you could actually transfer content off quicker and transcode quicker. And what this new Angelbird Performance Card Reader CF Express B shows me is, wow, what a huge time savings V4 cards are. And the good news is, when it comes to at least Angelbird products, the price for the V4 cards is the same as the previous price for the V3 cards. So there's no increased cost. But what I also love about this is that on my Mac, I'm no longer stuck at 1,000 gigabytes per second. I said 1,000 gigabytes per second, didn't I? 1,000 megabytes per second. And that's huge. It's definitely a performance increase. I use this solidly Monday and Tuesday. I did a lot of transcoding, and because of the storage, I didn't transcode everything all at once, because if there was a crash or a problem, I didn't want to have to deal with issues. So I was basically transcoding in 100 to 200 gigabyte chunks, and I would let it do its thing. I'd go off and do something else, come back, take a look, review, see how it was, and then I would delete the original media off the card because I'd already transcoded and created Apple ProRes 422 versions of it. Didn't need to have both versions on there, and I already had a backup if things went wrong. So then I would take the next chunk, I would do the same thing, and by the time I was done this, it was time to import. And because I wasn't importing everything, I wasn't importing the full 1.2 terabytes, what I would do, because all this transcoding was done on the CF Express V4 card. I didn't have enough storage on my computer, but I was working off another Angelbird SSD that was a 4 terabyte. I still didn't want to import everything. So for example, that chopper clip that I showed you earlier is something like 20 gigabytes and maybe 5 minutes long. I only used maybe 10 seconds of that, maybe 20 seconds. So what I did is I went through each clip, marking an in point and an out point. And you can just imagine how much time that took. Basically, Monday and Tuesday was just relegated to transcoding, importing, and copying before Wednesday I finally sat down to start editing, white balancing, setting things up, moving clips around so the storyline followed. Because sometimes when I transcoded, if things were done out of order, the new file lines didn't line up, so I had to move things around. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching this video to the very end. If you are interested in purchasing the Angelbird, well, the new card reader, the Performance Card Reader CF Express B, or the new cables or any of their other gear, I've got the links down in the description down below. These guys right here. You can order directly from Angelbird. Something very interesting when you order from Angelbird, though, what I've noticed is when I get gear from Angelbird, they send me a little chocolate bar and a pen and some other stuff in there. So it's a little bit different. Of course, you can order directly from Adorama, B&H, or your local camera store. But I do like the experience of ordering directly from Angelbird. One thing that's very, very important as I start to lose my voice, make sure you register your cards. It keeps them on there. You've got a 3-year warranty. I've got so many cards. I find that by registering them there, I've got a complete inventory of the cards that I have. And if I have any problems, and I have in the past, I've actually had, there was a batch of older cards where the plastic casing kind of chipped away a little bit. And so I would just send them an email saying, hey, this card's chipping, send them a photo. They'd ask for the serial number and just ask me to ship it back, and, you know, they'd ship me out a new product. And actually, it worked out quite well too, because I didn't get the older product. I got the newer refresh product with the higher transfer speeds, so it worked out quite well. But the support's very good. I just please register your product, especially if you have multiple cards. It's a great way of keeping track of them. That way, if you do have an issue, it's a little easier, because the serial number on these things is very, very small. And even with my glasses, I can't read it. I have to take a picture with my phone, and it's just easier to have it all there. Anyhow, thank you so much for watching as I ramble on. Have yourself a great day, a great week, and we'll see you again soon.